Yada yada daze. And welcome to Comic Book Movie Oblivion, the podcast about feature films based on comic books and comic strips that people have stopped talking about. We are your hosts, Jordan and Kumar, and again with us today, a frankly enormous teenager, towering over us mere mortals, the heir to a strange lineage, fabulous hair, beetling brows, and a piercing gaze, but is he also capable of summoning psychic reality warping ghosts?
And does his hair fit over his hat?
These are all good questions. Keep listening to find out as we welcome back the Teen Titan, Ashwin Siba.
Yeah, I'm back. Since it's Shonen Jump again, I'm obligated to be in the room.
You're out.
Is it Shonen Jump? I think it switched over. I think it started in Shonen Jump, and then it got kicked out. It moved over to, like, a different magazine. I'm sure I read this somewhere. I don't think it's strictly in Shonen Jump anymore, because it's not about friendship, effort, victory. I guess. Maybe that's why they got booted. Yeah, so we're talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, Part 1.
The film. Came out in 2017, directed by Takashi Miike.
Yeah.
The director of Ichi the Killer.
Yeah, Audition. Maybe the most famous extreme J-horror movie of all time, maybe. Lots of other movies.
He has more than 100 credits.
More than 100 credits, yes. He's a gonzo filmmaker.
Yeah, really?
He does about 4 or 5 movies a year. He's been directing since about 1991. There's 13 Assassins. I think he did the remake of Harakiri from 2011 as well.
Whoa.
Famously, that episode of Masters of Horror Imprint, which was banned.
Did we mention
Showtime.
that in the week?
I don't remember
I'm not sure.
if we did.
We covered Jennifer from Masters of Horror, which was a kind of like an hour-long episodic
anthology horror
series where famous horror directors would come on and do one episode. So among all the horror directors, Miike came on and did one, and it was considered too extreme in the company of famous horror directors.
And the whole point of the show was that you could go extreme on it.
And his was too...
Because it was on cable, right?
Never shown in the US, apparently, although apparently it's been shown in the UK, and you can get it on DVD.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so we have to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Well, that's what Ashwin's here for.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so it started in 1987. The mangaka here is Hirohiko Araki.
You could do a podcast just about him, couldn't you?
Yep.
Yes.
He's a real character.
I actually encountered his earlier series, which is called Bao, and it came out, it was from 1984, and it was only 2 volumes, but for some reason Viz released this in English in 89-90, and I somehow ended up with a few issues. I don't think JoJo's was out at that point, but I just picked them out randomly out of like a discount bin.
Right.
And I just remember the art was so weird, like these weirdly muscly guys in weird poses.
Yeah, and they're all like bending in ways that meat isn't supposed to bend.
That's right. Exactly. That's the best way to describe it. And but that story was about like government experiments. A lot of times it was like governments were experimenting on people and giving them powers.
Right.
And at that
like
time,
Akira then, right? Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, the manga that tended to get licensed would be ones that if you squinted really hard would look like a superhero comic.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah, right.
In
like
North
Guyver
America.
or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'd read a couple of these issues, and it wasn't until many years later that I put together that this was the guy that did JoJo. But then it made perfect sense because he still had that kind of style.
I think I read that Bao maybe had an anime adaptation that might have been a bit of a sleeper hit on video.
Okay.
And that might be why Viz licensed it.
Right, okay. But even then, the video might have only been licensed because it had that kind of superhero vibe about it. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating.
Oh, no, they can both be true.
Yes. So, because this started in 1987 and is still going, we're up to 136 volumes or something like that at present.
Yeah,
and you've read them all,
7 or 8 parts or something. I haven't read all of them. I never finished. I got up to maybe the last volume of Part 5, and then I never finished that. I never got through to Part 6.
And we were watching the anime, and we got up to partway through Part 4, and we didn't finish it. We just kind of stalled. But you were on a reread of JoJo, right?
Yeah.
So how many times have you read it?
Well, since I watched the anime, I would consider that my second time through the story.
Okay.
Reading it, I would say this is my second or probably second time.
Okay.
To have read
That's amazing.
Okay, but you did stop around part 5.
Yeah, close to the end of part
Okay.
5. I never finished it.
I had read, they started releasing them in hardcovers, so I bought volume 1 of that. And I had that for a while. And then I realized, I learned that starting from the beginning is the wrong way to read JoJo.
Yeah. It's like TNG.
Yes. You're better off starting later. Because, well, okay, so the most popular part seems to be part 3, which is set in Egypt.
Yes, there's some debate on this, but yeah, we'll go with that.
It seems...
The most famous, I would say.
The most famous, okay. Well, it's the part that introduces this concept of stands. Now, we haven't even talked about anything about the series yet, but that's where the stand starts. So the stuff before that almost doesn't matter. Now, also, each part is set in like a different era with different characters.
Yeah.
But there's like a certain core concepts that return, or the villain comes back to fight new heroes, or the villain's acolytes show up to fight this next generation of heroes in a different time or place, or something like that. But mostly they focus around this family called the Joestar family. I did look up a family tree before we started recording, and that was hard to follow. It's like the Corleone family tree. It's like all over, like, who are all these people? But basically, part 1 is set in, like, England in the 1900s.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to go through that?
I think
you can give us a little bit of the description.
Part 1 is... It's starring Joseph Joestar.
Yeah.
He's a young man in the 1880s or 90s. And he's a rich kid, but he's really chivalrous. He's a man of honor. And then this kid comes to stay with his family named Dio. And Dio is pure evil. He's just the most evil guy alive. And he discovers this stone mask that the Joestar family has had. It's this Aztec stone mask. And whenever someone puts it on and it gets blood on it, it stabs their head and it turns them into a super evil vampire.
Cool. And he was already super evil, so...
Yeah.
That's
so
bad.
He becomes even more evil. He's like the most evil dude ever. And then Joestar meets this guy called Baron Zeppeli. He learns how to use the power of Harmon to harness the sun. It's like attacking with the power of sunlight, which is the only thing that can kill these vampires.
Yeah,
and
everybody knows that.
Yeah, at the end, supposedly, him and Dio kill each other. And they're on a boat and they sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Now, we should interject here. As you can tell from Dio and Zeppeli,
so,
all the character names are named after bands.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in some of the, especially the later releases in North America, the publishers got antsy about rights, so they started giving them other names. Sometimes it didn't have any relationship to the bands at all, just to cover it up. Yeah. My solution would have been, okay, so for example, the one we're going to do today, there's this stand, we'll get to all that stuff, called Worst Company, which was Bad Company in the Japanese.
Yeah.
But they changed it, I guess because they're worried that Bad Company was reading manga and was going to sue them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But easily I would have gone with Bado Company, like just transliterate it and then...
And they do sometimes do that.
That would work. You know, if you had Metallica in there, you could just call them Metallica.
I believe there is a Metallica one.
Right.
I definitely remember later on there's like a Crimson King.
Yeah,
Right.
King Crimson.
A
Crimson.
Black Sabbath.
And so far, like this sounds like a fairly kind of typical, I suppose, manga.
Yeah.
Like a Western historical setting, some supernatural elements.
Yes, but then there's a character called
people.
Speedwagon. Like,
Yes, but
Ario Speedwagon.
But there's some odd signs.
weird stuff.
There's
Yes.
a character called...
Yes, there's weird signs. You know that things are not normal. In this mangaka's head, things are not quite right.
There's a moment where Zeppeli gets cut in half and he's alive and is able to get from the waist down, his body and his stomach is all gone. And he's alive for like another 2 chapters to give a big monologue.
That's wild. But like Harmon, the sun power, that's essentially just a kind of martial art.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, martial arts, historical settings, young people, so far so standard, with some worrying signs.
Yeah.
right, yes.
Maybe some, I think the art is a little different in these earlier ones. I haven't actually read
It
Phantom
gets
Blood.
more and more
Oh yeah.
Fleshy, I want to say.
Well, move on to the next one.
Okay.
Move on to Battle Tendency.
Part 2 is it's starring Joseph Joestar.
Oh, right, so they always have names that could be nicknamed JoJo.
Every part has a different main character, and their nickname is always JoJo. So Joseph Joestar, He's like a real playboy character. It's set in World War II, opens in America, moves all over the place. This time the villains are the creators of the Stone Mask, the super Aztec vampires.
Yeah. Called the Pillar Men.
Yeah, the Pillar Men, and their names are Cars, AC/DC, and Wham.
And Santana.
Yeah.
Except in the one I read, Wham is called Wamu.
Yeah, Wamu and AC/DC.
And Esi-Desi.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So
yes.
They followed your compromise.
Right.
There's a lot of craziness in part 2.
Yeah.
That's
This is when
the one
the
I
posing
remember
really
with
takes off.
Yes.
The Pillar Men are big posers.
Everyone always hits a pose in some way that you shouldn't be able to move in this way.
I think Araki seems to have been influenced by like fashion, like runway fashion.
Yes.
In the poses and the clothing, the outrageous outfits that these characters tend to wear.
Araki is a man of singular influences. I've written them down. You can gauge them from like reading the manga, but I've written a few of them down. Araki loves prog rock.
Yep.
Araki loves fashion.
Yes.
Araki loves Italy.
Yep. a lot happens in Italy.
He loves westerns.
Yep.
Okay.
And he likes horror movies.
Vampires.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he likes, and his art is incredibly flamboyant.
Yes.
And the longer the series goes on, the more flamboyant it gets.
Absolutely.
The more fleshy and, I mentioned the beetling brows and the piercing. Everyone's got these statuesque jaws.
Yep.
The heroes are all very, very beautiful.
Yes.
And muscular, and they're all 190 centimeters tall.
Yeah, that's always specified.
They're all 190 centimeters tall. Even 17-year-old Japanese,
Yeah.
like high schoolers.
Yes.
Anyway, part 2 is
Go on, yeah.
part 2 is really bonkers. There's a lot going on
actually.
there.
I liked part 2 a lot.
Yeah,
I remember part 2 is that's the one I remember with the longest death scenes. Where like the person would just be like a decapitated head.
Yes.
And they would just keep talking.
Well, Wamu gets turned into a head at one point, and he lives for a whole volume.
He's a brain. He gets turned into a brain, and he's got like
No,
3
that's
chapters.
Esi-Desi. Esi-Desi turns into a brain.
Oh yes, yeah,
Wamu turns into just a head.
yeah. He's like he cradles his severed head and like talks to him.
And he just keeps talking. How is he talking? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, the Nazis are the good guys.
Yeah. They are. There's a Nazi cyborg
yeah,
called Stroheim,
yeah.
and he is an unambiguous good guy fighting the Pillar Men along
Yeah,
with JoJo.
yeah. Well, they have a common goal of killing the vampires, so that makes the Nazis the good guys. JoJo has a crush on his mother for about 50 chapters until he realizes that she's his mother.
Yeah. So nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, they kill the Pillman. One of them gets sent into space because he's unkillable. And then part 3 is where they move the action to Japan. Well, it opens in Japan, and then it's set.
And it's 1989.
1989.
Yeah.
And it's like it's pretty much a tour across Asia, I suppose, until they get to Egypt, where the finale takes place. It's with Jotaro Kujo.
Another 190 centimeter tall.
Yes, Joseph Joestar's grandson, who is still alive and is an old man in the story, and is one of the main characters. Dio is back. He's stolen. His severed head has reattached itself to the body of Jonathan Joestar.
The original Joestar,
The original one, the first guy's
okay.
alone Harmon.
Yeah.
And he has acquired a stand. So there's no more Harmon. They don't use Harmon anymore. He's introduced.
Right, okay,
So we moved away from this is key.
Yeah.
We've moved away from the martial arts stand the martial arts Harmon, and now we're going into the straight up bonkers territory of stands.
Yes, and I think this is why this series has gone to 136 volumes.
Yes.
I think
Everybody loves
stands.
without
the stands,
Yeah.
it would have ended after 5 or 10 like Bao. It would have just been
Yes.
we're done.
Definitely. The stands is what everyone knows and remembers.
Yeah.
Now,
Tell us about stands, Ashley.
Yeah, okay, but before that, what I remember is that when we watched the anime of... I knew that there were stands in JoJo, and I was waiting for them to show up. We get to part 3, suddenly people are using stands. Now, my memory of the anime is that as we were watching it every episode, I would say, when are they going to explain what these stands are? I don't think they ever said out loud, what is a stand? They just are there.
No, they never do. I'm pretty
But
sure.
apparently they do in the manga, because you read it a few weeks
There's
ago.
one line.
Okay.
There's a single. It's a big full page panel in pretty early on in part 3, I think it's chapter 2 or something. It says, Jotaro, what you have called an evil spirit is but a powerful apparition created by your own life energy. And since it stands next to you, it is called a stand.
Right. Okay. This doesn't explain why some of them have, like, armor.
Well, when they're first... Ashman will correct me if I'm wrong, but in part 3, which is called Stardust Crusaders, which is the most flamboyant title, I love it, it's just so Araki. Originally, they seem to be kind of associated with the tarot.
Yes, they're all named after tarot cards.
So they're almost like a manifestation of a occult force.
Okay.
Almost.
Okay.
And they all... I think when they first introduced, they sort of just have kind of very generic abilities, like to shoot fire or...
Well,
punch things.
The first few do. The first, all the good guys kind of just have dudes that stand next to them, but there are a lot of really weird ones.
Yes, well, they get weirder and weirder as it goes on, and this is, I think, as Kumar was hinting, this is why people tune in, because they can't wait to see.
Yeah, because the best word for it is bizarre.
Well, so for example, when we get to the one we're going to talk about today, when this guy's stand is all these little army men, mini little army men, entire army. If this character had been born in, say, the 1700s and had manifested a stand, would it be these little army men?
Yeah, and would he call it? Yeah. No, well, who knows? Yeah, there's no answer to that.
No.
Most of them look... How would you describe how they look? Most of them are incredibly muscular men.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're as muscular as their owners.
Yes.
If not more so.
I've got a quote here. If you are not a statuesque hero or villain in Araki's works, you're a bizarre, egg-shaped, vaguely humanoid person.
Yeah.
So everyone is built like a Greek statue.
Absurdly jacked.
Yes. Now, if the stand gets...
Oh, stands.
So the stands fight each other. The human people don't fight each other. Their stands do.
Yeah, they kind of just stand still and stand menacingly.
But if you hurt a person's stand, it hurts the
person,
the generator of that. They're linked, yes.
In my introduction, I said psychic reality warping ghosts.
Yes.
So essentially, people sort of concentrate, and their stand emerges.
Yes.
Often from their body.
Yes, almost like an astral.
Yeah,
that's what I always thought it was. It was some kind of weird, short-range astral projection.
And then they will often do physical battles. So some of the stands are physical. They'll just poltergeist. Mm. Also, people that don't possess a stand can't see a stand. So for a bystander, it will look just like things are flying around as though as though there was a poltergeist present. But stands also will possess, especially as time goes on, strange powers.
Like what? Who's the one that has the one that just takes the magic photos that can like?
Well, that's Joseph. He has vines that have some kind of spirit photography.
Right.
His one is called Hermit Purple, which is a reference to the tarot card, the Hermit.
Okay. Right.
But eventually, the tarot thing is abandoned after Stardust Crusaders, and then they are all named after bands.
Right.
Yeah. So part 3, some of the stands get really weird close to the end. There's one that is just a force of magnetism.
Right.
And her stand is like an electric socket, and if you touch it, then you become magnetized, and it gets worse and worse, and the force of magnetism is technically her stand. There's one guy who his shadow is his stand, and anyone that steps on it becomes a child.
Yep. Yes.
And they age younger and younger depending on how long they're standing on it. Like it turns one woman into a fetus.
Yes. Yes. They just get wilder and wilder. I think in Golden Wind there's a stand that infects you with a fungus that grows every time you go further down in altitude.
It's like there's a certain altitude, and it passes it gets covered in this infectious mold.
Right.
So the appeal here is obvious.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yes. And then you have these very long manga battles that go for chapters and chapters where people are trying to outwit each other with their stand's powers or whatever.
Yes.
And there's a lot of drama, like dramatic emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Elaborate rock, paper, scissors or battles of wits.
Yes.
Kind of like a combination of Death Note and Dragon Ball and all of the kind of shonen tropes.
Yeah.
And also, apparently very successful, is each stand has a system of categorization. So there's short range stands and long range stands, autonomous stands.
Depending on the physical strength of the stand is how far away you'll be able to.
And he'll give them a rating of like A, B, C, or D.
Okay.
And there's a graph that represents, and it's kids just gonna eat this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comparing stands, seeing which one's got the best stats.
Yeah.
He's really. This is like Shonen Alchemy.
Yes.
You can see why it's gone up to almost 200 volumes.
Yeah.
So part 3. Probably the most important one is Jotaro's stand, is Star Platinum. It seems to be this just super strong, super fast, unbelievably, obscenely fast dude.
Yeah.
That has very short range, but it's revealed at the end that his stand can stop time momentarily, much like Dio's stand, the world, which seemingly its only ability is to stop time for a few seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it sort of hinted that because they're both because Dio is occupying the body of Jotaro's great-grandfather.
Yes. Yep. Great-great-grandfather.
Great-great-grandfather. They have a common stand. Oh, it's never really explained where stands come from. Mm-hmm. In the one we're going to cover, Diamond is Unbreakable, it's revealed that they are generated by the stand arrow.
Yeah,
some people
can just manifest them through force of will.
It's some relationship to Dio, actually. I think Dio somehow gave...
No, Dio got it from the stand arrow.
Yeah. So Dio got it from the arrow. A lot of these people
Dio
have
passed it on to other people without the...
No, he went and found them.
That was retconned.
Oh.
So originally, people just got them for no reason, right?
Yeah.
And some characters can even get them without the agency of the arrow.
Yep.
What was I talking? Oh, right. Anyway, so Dio has the best stand of all. It's called Zawardo.
Yeah.
Which, the world, named after the tarot card, the world. Dio excitedly shouts Zawardo loudly.
Zawardo!
And then colours are inverted. So white becomes black and black becomes white, and then time is stopped.
Yep.
And as you said, eventually Jotaro figures out that his stand has the same power. Yep. And they have a long-standing battle of kind of wits where they each tries to outsmart the other using their time-stopping stand, but eventually...
Dio is killed.
Yes, Jotaro triumphs and Dio is killed.
And most of that party is killed. It's only the 2 Joestars that remain.
Right.
It's... Yeah. No. So, there's 5 of them going around. There's... Yeah, well, I guess none of this matters, does it?
That's okay. So, let me see if I remember. There's Mohammed Abdul. There's...
the Egyptian. He gets killed off.
Right.
Amazingly translated as Avdol. Avdol.
Yeah. Not Abdul.
So he's Abdul. Why would you translate it as Abdul?
Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Yeah.
Maybe they're worried.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Maybe.
there's... so there's Jotaro and there's Joseph.
Yeah.
Mohammed Abdul. Then there's Polnareff, the Frenchman.
Yes, with his amazing hair.
Yep. Kakyoin.
Yeah,
who's another Japanese guy. And then Iggy the dog.
Does Iggy have a stand?
Yes. It's made
Animals
of
can have
sand.
stands. Animals can have stands.
There's a gorilla with one whose stand is just a boat. It's like a giant boat.
It can be anything. They can be anything. It's so crazy. Man, I love it. All right. Okay. That pretty much, I think, firmly establishes the context.
Yes.
Let's talk about...
I just want to mention one thing so I can ring the bell.
Oh, yes?
Is that in part 9, there is a scene where the characters are watching From Hell.
Whoa!
And talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
At length. So I'm just gonna...
Good.
I'm just gonna bell that.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's talk about part 4. So this ran from 92 to 95. Quite a while ago now, actually. It's set in 1999, and it's set in a town called Morio, fictional town, which is has a very European look to it.
Yeah,
Araki loves
really
Europe.
looks like the suburbs.
Yep. Araki loves...
Not the Japanese suburbs.
Not the Japanese suburbs.
It's like a seaside town in Italy, I imagine.
Yes, even the house that the people the main character lives in is a European style house. It's not you would not very rare to see a house that looks like that in Japan, I think. Okay, so we've got this. We start with a character named Koichi Hirose. He's 15. He's just, I guess,
he's about 3 feet tall.
It's very weird. All the character designs are very weird. And he encounters Jotaro Kujo right at the beginning. So Jotaro Kujo has shown up in Japan. It's 10 years after part 3, and he's looking for someone named Josuke Higashikata.
Yeah. The costumes. We've mentioned fashion.
Yeah.
All heroes, especially from Stardust Crusaders onwards, wear, frankly, ridiculous outfits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfathomably ridiculous.
High fashion, right?
Like something you would see on a runway.
When we were watching the anime, every episode we were like, how does this hat and his hair work? 'Cause his hair seems to be going over his head. Amazingly, they did this in the movie. I was shocked.
I think technically, I think the canon is his hat and his hair have merged,
Right.
and they're a single object. Because there is a moment where his hat gets knocked off, and there is hair
On the hat?
on the hat while it's not on his head.
But they'll be wearing these, something you would never see off a fashion runway. Like, enormous, stylishly cut coats with huge medallions.
Yeah.
And badges.
Chains.
Big medallions.
Is very flamboyant.
Yes.
Like, often like big love hearts.
Yes.
And in fact,
Yes.
a lot of the stands will look like crazy.
Yeah.
They'll be covered in sort of armor, and I think Dio's stand, Zawardo, has big love hearts all over it, or is it Dio that has love hearts all over him? But just crazy stuff that you couldn't imagine existing outside of the pages of a comic book.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Jotaro shows up looking for Josuke. He's wearing a bright white pants and enormous kind of like trench coat outfit.
Yeah. Pure white hat.
With his white hat and the hair coming up around the sides.
Over the sides of the
Over the sides of the hat and the back.
Through the hat, I would argue.
It's crazy. And big J's, like a big J on the hat.
Yeah.
A big golden J, like a gilded J.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Galactus's big G when he showed up. So he's trying to find Higashikata, and so Koichi is going to help him.
Yeah, they know one another. Koichi's just moved to the area, but he knows who Josuke is.
Yeah, and he also knows about like the rundown house, as if he's lived in here for a long time. There's some... I couldn't tell if he really has arrived or has he been here for a long time. Anyway.
He's a plot device, really. He's a real audience surrogate.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, well put.
That's right.
That's correct.
So, now as they're walking around town randomly, as the readers run into Josuke. Josuke is trying to force himself to touch turtles in a fountain because he's scared of turtles. So he's forcing himself to overcome his fear.
Well, he's right across the street from him. He's like...
Yes.
Hey, he meets Koichi. Jotaro meets Koichi. He's like, hey, have you heard of this guy, Josuke Higashikata? And Koichi's like, oh, maybe I might know him. And then they look across the street, and then
he's right there, touching
He's right there touching turtles. But then there's some bullies there that are like, why are you touching those turtles? What's wrong with your uniform? They tell him off, and he's been humbled by this. He's also in a position where he's frightened himself. He's very mousy because he's been touching these turtles.
Yeah, he's different from Jotaro in that respect.
he's a real airhead.
Yes.
All the guys are different. I think the first one is really quite chivalrous and honorable. Second one's
he's a trickster and a bit of a lecher.
Yeah. Third one, Jotaro is a real cool guy,
cool.
stoic man,
but also hot-tempered.
Yeah. And then Josuke's an airhead.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it helps that he has the most ridiculous hairstyle that has ever existed.
Yeah, it's this bizarre pompadour, but if anyone mentions it, he explodes.
Yes, that's his Achilles heel, isn't it? Yeah. If you say anything bad about his hair, or even something that could be misconstrued as being a critique of his hair, then he shifts. His personality changes, and he becomes very dangerous and angry.
Yes, and it often triggers his stand, which he doesn't seem to know what it is or what he's doing, but his stand will appear and attack. And the thing about his stand is it just fights people, but also it can heal. And it seems to either heal things correctly or
depends on how angry he is.
Right.
Yes.
So his stand is called Crazy Diamondo.
Right.
After the Pink Floyd song Shine On Crazy Diamond.
Yeah.
The stand's ability is to reconstruct perfectly anything it destroys.
Yeah.
Right.
However, if he gets angry while the stand is doing that, it will be reconstructed imperfectly.
Right.
I assume it's a focus thing or something.
Yep. Yes.
Or like he has to like put in a lot of thought or be calm in order to reconstruct something.
Okay. So he beats up the bullies because they've insulted his hair, and he warps one of their faces, so he has this kind of pug nose.
Yeah.
And he also heals the turtle back. The bullies had killed this turtle. They'd smashed it against the wall.
Injured it. He can't bring back the dead.
Right, that's right. And so he brings that back. So now, does he meet those... Oh, the schoolgirls come up. Okay.
Oh, no, they No, so Jotaro goes up to Josuke
Yes.
and starts talking, telling him why Jotaro is here in the town of Mori.
Okay. So he's there because... It's a weird line. He said... So, Jonathan has died? Or no, he's...
No, Joseph is still alive, but they're going through his will.
They're going through his will... And they discover that he had a child in Japan.
An illegitimate son.
An illegitimate son 15 years earlier when he was 65 years old or something like that. But so, I don't understand how this quite works, because it seems like he didn't know that he had an illegitimate son, but it's in his will, or...
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
And it's in the same word balloon. It's not like it's separated.
Yeah, we were going through his will and found an illegitimate son that even he had no knowledge of.
The old man had no idea. He's still alive and kicking, but we were looking into his will, and we discovered that he had a son in Japan. That's you, kid. The old man had no idea.
How could he have
How could he put him in the will? I don't know. I don't know how any of this works. Anyway, as this typical JoJo, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Does not matter.
Actually, the film dispenses with this and just...
It makes a little bit more sense in the movie. Yeah, because they didn't mention the bit
They
about
didn't
he had
mention
no
the will.
idea. I think they might have mentioned... Oh, yeah, maybe they didn't mention the will. Anyway.
No, in the film, they've skipped ahead a plot point, and in the film, Joseph has used his spirit photography to identify a threat to the town. So Jotaro has showed up to take care of the threat and protect.
Right. Well, I think that's the... Because the old man used his spirit photography to get a picture of this kid that he didn't know about. And then instead he found this weird force.
Oh, right, it is in the comic. I forgot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he's like, okay, you better go check out what this is. And I don't know why the kid didn't show up on the film. I guess it was because this enemy spirit is much stronger than Josuke's spirit.
Do we have? So who is this enemy spirit?
Oh, it's Angelo. I don't remember what his actual name is. It's Anjuro.
Yes, they call him Angelo anyway, yeah.
But he's the worst serial killer in the history of Japan.
Yes, to a ridiculous JoJo detailed degree. Like he raped and murdered someone when he was 12.
Yeah.
And then then escaped and raped and killed 4 boys. And they hung him, and he survived the hanging, so they had to delay the execution to try to execute him again on a later day. It's just like this list of...
Yeah. It's
just
so
write down a
over
list
the
of the
top.
craziest things.
Yeah, that you could imagine.
Yeah. Right, yeah. So then as the two JoJos are talking to each other, these girls that are totally head over heels for Josuke and his fabulous hair and outfits run up, and they're like fawning all over him. And Kujo's very annoyed by this.
As he is in part 3, whenever girls come up and talk to him.
He's very angry when he's also an object of female attention
Yes.
in part 3. He finds it very frustrating, doesn't he?
Yes. And then he accidentally insults Josuke's hair.
Yep.
So they have to have a fight. Now there's an explanation about stands. And then he explains about the photos, the spirit photos. So we learn that there's this serial killer in town. Oh, well, we meet, in another scene, we meet Josuke's mother and father, and grandfather, her father, who's this cop in town. Really lantern-jawed, bizarre character design, this guy. But yeah, so there's this serial killer running around called Angelo, and then there's a incident at a convenience store where the cashier's taken hostage.
Yep.
And Josuke happens to be on the scene, and he uses his stand to punch his stand's fist through the woman to the knife that
through both of them.
Through the knife to the back of the guy, and then pulls out, and he leaves the knife inside the villain and heals the woman as he exits. So she's safe, and this guy has a huge knife stuck in his belly.
Yeah. That guy made the mistake of saying something disparaging about his hair.
He wasn't going to do anything.
He was just going to leave.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But then this stand escapes from the guy and runs into the sewers.
Yep.
This weird little grotesque creature, typical kind of JoJo enemy
Yeah.
gross out stand kind of thing. It's a creepy looking thing. But this stand turns out to be Angelo's stand.
Yep.
And now he wants revenge. And he didn't know that anybody else had a stand, I think, at this
In
point.
town.
In town, yeah. In town, that's right. So his power is to, transmit through water?
Well, his stand is made of water.
Okay.
And can mix with
He
liquids.
can mix with other liquids, including in steam form.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you imbibe this liquid, then he can possess you.
Yes.
In the comic, that's his only power, right? Possession through water.
And he kind of also explodes people from
can-
the inside just by forcing the water out.
Yes. Right, he can do that.
He does do
He can
that.
do stuff to your body once he's inside you. But the film, it seems it seems more powerful in the film. He has control over water.
Yeah.
Whereas in the comic, it seems
Right.
like water is just the medium that he uses to affect control of your body.
Right.
Not an important qualification.
So he manages to get into Josuke's mother's tea, and she drinks him, but Josuke rescues his mother by shoving his fist through her again with he holds a bottle,
Yeah.
and he traps the Angelo stand,
Yeah, aqua necklace.
aqua necklace, in the bottle, pulls it back out, mother's fine, and he's going to guard this bottle, which has the stand in it. And meanwhile, outside, the physical Angelo is like freaking out.
Yeah.
Because he's trapped, his stand is trapped in this bottle.
Yes. And he's experiencing that because when what acts on your stand acts on you because
Yeah,
you're
so
linked.
whenever he shakes the bottle.
Yeah, Angelo himself is shaken around.
Yeah.
He eventually gets out of the bottle by pretending to be a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, no idea how he does that.
Yeah, that wasn't one of his listed...
Yeah. He makes like a whiskey label
On the inside
on the inside of the bottle, or like...
Or on the outside, it seems like, and
Yeah.
changes the colour of the liquid inside
Yeah.
the bottle to look like whiskey. Then grandfather drinks it, the
Yeah,
police
'cause
officer...
JoJo's-
By the way, when
Video
Granddad
games.
comes home, he points a gun at Josuke's head and says, "Why aren't you at school?" And then it turns out to be a prank, and it's a fake gun. It's a toy gun. It's a crazy moment.
It's just very typical, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, he falls for this false bottle of cognac, and he drinks it.
Cognac, isn't it? Yeah, brandy.
Yes, and is like dying.
Yeah, he dies.
Yeah. So this is an instance where Angelo is using his power to kill someone instead of just possessing them. Because this is the cop that arrested him when he was 12. Turns out.
Yeah.
He wanted
that's
revenge.
right, I forgot.
There's a coincidental double revenge here. He wanted revenge on Josuke for interfering at the convenience store, and now he's also getting Granddad.
So wanted revenge on his mom for some reason.
It had something to do with the milk or the dog shit. He delivered. He showed up at the door.
Yeah, his first attempt
He possessed
was
the
like,
milkman and tried to get her to drink milk, and she didn't do it.
Yeah.
He had tampered with the lid, and she
Yeah.
noticed. And he stepped in some dog shit, and he got angry when he found the guy that was walking the dog.
Oh yeah, he bit
He
his
bit
dog's face off.
the dog's face off.
So nuts. So nuts.
This is all incidental
It
detail.
sounds horrific, but it's just crazy. When you're reading, it's just craziness. Non-stop craziness.
Yeah. Yes, okay, so now Granddad is dead. And we learned that Josuke's power cannot heal a person who's
Crazy
clearly
Diamond.
dead. Yeah.
Incidentally, a Crazy Diamond looks really stupid. The stand.
Yeah.
A helmet shaped like a love heart.
Yeah, it's like rectangular, and then
Like a pillbox hat.
Yeah.
It's also a love heart. And he's pink. And,
Yeah, bright pink.
And in the film, incidentally, they don't show Crazy Diamond at all. He's
Yeah,
very,
why?
very, very hazy at all times, and I understand why. Because he looks completely stupid. Yeah, he can't heal death.
Yeah.
They have
He
a kind
heals
of...
the corpse's wounds, but he does not come back to life.
Correct. They have a kind of a battle of wits with Angelo and Aqua Necklace.
Well, they hold themselves up. They're like, we can't drink any water. We have to protect ourselves. So they hold up for 3 days.
Is it
And
3 days?
yeah.
Yeah, just drinking from cans and
It is
stuff.
3 days. I forgot about
And
that.
by the way, there's a
it all
scene-
happens quickly in the film, but it's 3 days in the comics.
So there's a moment where Josuke he's trashed his house in anger at his grandfather's death. I don't know where Mom has gone during this period, but anyway, all the
Doesn't matter.
furniture is all warped. It's fixed itself in warped
What's that?
shape.
What's that painting with the? Is it the screen? Is that what it's
Screen.
called? Yeah, everything looks like that in the background.
Yes, it's all kind of melty and weird. But now it starts raining. So Angelo is able to merge with the rain
Yep.
and get into the house. Now we have a big fight where He turns into steam. They're like, don't breathe in the steam. How do you not breathe in the steam? What about moisture in the air?
We'll get to that.
How do you not breathe in the moisture in the air?
We'll get to that. Look, well, technically steam has... I want to talk about this when we get to the scene in the film. So just we'll put a pin in that.
Okay.
How do you not breathe in steam? Okay. Good question, Kumar. I want to return to that.
Okay. But then he has a plan to not break out of the house, but to escape the steam. They're going to break into another room. So he punches down a wall, but they go in, there's a humidifier in there.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then Angelo reveals he knew he was going to break through that wall until he was the humidifier. He was just waiting for it to happen. And he manages to get into Josuke. But Josuke,
retches. He's retching.
Your next move is...
And he throws up a rubber glove he's somehow tied inside his stomach. Throws up this rubber glove that has Aqua Necklace in him.
He had torn it up and swallowed it and then healed it inside himself.
I think that was the film specifically that said that. I think in the manga he just swallowed a rubber glove.
No, he tore it. No, in the comic he tore it up.
He did.
Okay.
I think.
And then he punched himself with his own ability and...
So it's off screen, so we don't see it happening.
Reconstructed the glove and Aqua Necklace is trapped inside it. Now they've trapped Angelo.
Yeah.
And Josuke takes his terrifying revenge. Villains often receive a very kind of like poetic justice often in Araki's stuff. In this case, Angelo is fused with a landscape rock, which is in the middle of a park.
Yeah.
And he sort of just becomes like a face on the rock.
Yes. And they forced the story out of him of how he got his stand.
Right.
And he says when he was in jail between executions, this guy showed up dressed in a school uniform and shot him with an arrow, but the arrow didn't kill him.
No.
It awakened his stand and allowed him to be powerful enough to escape, which is what he did. Now, based on what we learn later, I don't understand why the archer walked away. Because we learn later on that this archer is looking for someone that has a stand strong enough to kill his father.
Right.
So why does he say, now come over to my house and try to kill my dad, instead of just leaving this guy in a jail cell?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So yeah, it turns out that there's a local schoolboy. It's always a school. It's always a teenager.
Yep. These guys are in their first year as well. They're like 15, 16.
Amazing, and they
they're
have
190
crazy
centimeters tall.
Yes, they are, and incredibly muscular, and posing constantly.
Yeah, and wearing incredibly not. Surely there's some kind of a dress code at
Not
those
regulation. They're wearing uniforms, but they're definitely not regulation uniforms. They've been altered. Again, they've covered in badges.
Altered for the runway.
They live in a big abandoned house that's very un-Japanese. It's a big European style.
It's like that.
Next chapter, Koichi and Josuke, they walk past the rock, the Angelo rock. They say, "What's up, Angelo?" And they walk past this abandoned house, and Koichi's like, "Oh, look at this house." Then he sticks his head through the gate. He's looking around, and then bam, gate shuts on him.
Yeah.
And it's this punk. This dude that's probably the same height as JoJo, just as jacked.
Another enormous teenager.
Equally crazy hair.
Yeah. Okuyasu Nijimura. Yeah. So it turns out this house is occupied because they'd seen a candlelight in one of the windows. So they were suspecting somebody maybe was squatting in this abandoned house. So Koichi's head is stuck in the gate. Now, Josuke ends up in a big fight with Okuyasu.
Yep.
Stand against stand. Okuyasu's stand has the ability to slice, take a dimensional slice out of space-time.
Yeah, it's like whatever his hand touches, the space is deleted and closes in on itself.
That's right.
And not just that, but he can delete any matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's space itself, I think.
Yeah, well, space, yes, exactly. So, yeah, he can even remove space, empty space.
Yes.
But he's so dumb he can't use it effectively.
Yeah.
Thankfully. He's got this
because he's
incredibly overpowered.
His brother's in the window instructing him no, do this.
Anything the hand touches, I think the power is called the hand.
Yeah.
Anything the hand touches is removed, and then nature abhors a vacuum. Reality snaps shut on the absence.
Yeah.
So if he hits a sign, the sign contracts.
Yeah.
And then it forms a new sign almost that says a new thing based on a contraction of what was there before. And he can even swing it at an empty space in front of him. Then that empty space is erased and it teleports anything nearby.
Yeah, it's like a real swoop
into occupying that space. Wildly overpowered.
Yeah.
The things you could do with this ability. But thankfully, he's so dumb. He just randomly swings it around.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the other brother is Keicho. He fires the arrow. He has this magic arrow which gives people stands.
Yeah.
Or they die. Either they're surviving at a stand or they die.
It seems, there's no rhyme or reason why you...
Just some people have the gift.
Yeah.
Some people have a
it's like the force of will or something, or like
Force of will. So you're either...
it's the life
You're either a
force.
cool enough person to have a stand or you just die.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. It's
Right.
like your life force.
So he shoots Koichi, whose head is stuck in this gate.
And he doesn't have the life force, so
And
he
it
starts
seems he
dying.
doesn't. So it seems like
He's dying.
he seems like he's
Bleeding out.
dying. Yeah.
Does not die instantly from an arrow straight through the neck.
Yeah, and Jotaro wants, because he's their mates, he wants to heal him with Crazy Diamond, but for some reason the brothers really don't want him to do that.
Yep.
What's the harm? He doesn't have a stand anyway. Why do you want this kid to die?
Yeah.
If you commit murder in your front yard, won't this come back to affect you in some way, shape, or form? I mean, you're still subject to... Just because you've got stands and a magic bow and arrow doesn't mean the cops aren't going to show up at some point.
Yeah.
Whatever, they're like, no, you can't save him. We're going to kill you in our front yard.
Yeah. So Josuke manages to defeat Okuyasu, knocks him out, and then follows the trail of blood into the house of Koichi's blood. So he wants to rescue Koichi. But when he gets in there, actually Okuyasu wakes up and follows him in, but Keicho's stand is somewhere up in the rafters. He can't see what it is in the darkness.
Shadow.
But suddenly it attacks, and Okuyasu's the one who gets hit. It looks like a million bee stings all over his face.
Yep.
Tiny little holes.
He's got dozens of little holes.
Slowly, eventually we learn that it's these little army men. He's got his whole miniature green army men, basically.
Yeah.
Including, like, tanks and Harrier jets.
Yep. Helicopters.
Helicopters. Yep.
So cool.
Bazookas, commandos, everything. It's like a military unit.
Yes, it's great.
Yes.
But all the stands always have some kind of weakness or literal or rule that they have to follow. There's always some kind of literal rule often. Either it might just be as simple as range, like Star Platinum has a very short range.
Yep.
And so does the world. In this case, Bad Company's rule is that once he issues it an order, as though he were a general, that order must be followed.
That seemed... I don't think I saw that in the comic. That seemed to me to only be in the...
Oh, okay.
The movie. Because it seems like Josuke just outsmarts him.
Yeah, he does. He does in both. Well, okay, perhaps that's so, but it's in keeping with the themes of the book. Generally, there'll be some sort of iron rule about how the stand works, and that's how you outwit it.
Right.
By finding the workaround.
Right. So Josuke actually heals Okuyasu, who's been shot in the face by these millions of bullets.
Yep.
These thousands of bullets. He himself is pretty badly injured.
His stand won't work on himself.
Yes, that's right. He can't heal himself. Eventually, Keicho throws the whole of Worst Company at him.
He's healed. Okuyasu betrays his brother, and Koichi's been left in like the middle of this room as an ambush. Yeah. And then Okuyasu teleports him to Josuke.
He uses the hand to erase the space between...
Yes, to bring him closer to Josuke so Josuke can heal him.
Yep.
Finally, he fires, like, missiles at Josuke. Keicho fires these missiles with his army. And he takes the missiles and he repairs them with his stand.
It's his gambit.
And turns them back around on...
He punches them and it looks like he's at Bad Company's mercy.
Yeah.
But actually he's just delayed repairing them with Crazy Diamond. He repairs them and points them back at...
Yes.
What's his face? And
Keicho, yeah. So Keicho crawls away.
Keicho's taken out, yeah.
And Josuke wants to get out of there, but Koichi's like, no, because this bow and arrow that can murder people is still here in the house. We have to find it. So they decide to go explore the house, and they find this room upstairs where there's weird noises. And they go in there, and there's this blob creature, like in that... What's that short story where they keep the kid chained up and the mutant kid chained
Born of Man and Woman.
Born of Man and Woman. It's like that, except this turns out to be the dad of Okuyasu.
Yeah, it's like if the Eraserhead baby grew up.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison.
So basically, it turns out that this the father had been a disciple of Dio,
Yeah, like a servant, a vassal of Dio.
a vassal of Dio, and Dio had implanted some kind of cells in his
Yeah,
brain.
well, Dio has the flesh bud, which is established in part 3. It's like a way of mind controlling
Right.
people that he doesn't trust.
Right.
Yeah.
To do his bidding. But apparently,
One of his vampire powers. It's not a stand power.
yeah, eventually it will kill the person that it's attached to. But since Dio died before it killed his father, it supposedly went haywire
Yep.
and turned him into this immortal blob creature.
Yes,
Yes.
with seemingly no memory of his human existence at all. But he's unkillable, and the Keicho is looking for a way to kill his father. He wants to awaken a stand in somebody that can kill his father.
Yeah.
But how did he get turned on to the bow and arrow again? I
He
can't
did
remember.
research because
he did
his
research,
dad
right.
had the Dio connection already.
Right, okay.
He found out about Enyaba the Witch, and there's a retcon that Enyaba the Witch had the bow and arrow all along, and the bow and arrow is where Dio and all the rest of the gods of
Yeah,
Egypt.
that's how they acquired their
That's
stand.
how they all
well,
got-
some of them have them from birth.
Right.
But it's very unclear.
True. But Dio and all of his comrades got
Yeah,
it
or
from the arrow.
At the very least, Dio got it from the arrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, but then this creature has this crate full of junk that it spills every once in a while, which pisses off Keicho. And there's like some torn up bits of paper in there.
The
and
monster's always picking up the bits of paper and putting them down and kind of pushing them into a pile and
Yes.
fiddling with them. Josuke puts 2 and 2 together and uses his ability on it. It reassembles to be a family photo.
So now we know this creature actually has some vestigial memories of his family life that he has nostalgia for. By the way, we did learn that Koichi had developed some sort of power. He
Yeah, so I was about to
ejects
bring this up. Since he technically survived the arrow, he has developed a stand, but he brings it out and it's just an egg. But
Yeah.
the egg cracks and none of them seem to notice.
Yeah.
It cracks and nobody... I mean, nothing comes out of it. They kick it out of the way before it can be destroyed, which would kill Koichi. But I think there was a line from Keicho saying he saw what was in there and was worried about it.
Or he saw that it was cracking and was like, there's more to this stand than meets the eye.
Yeah, right.
Fair enough. Yeah, so...
So
he just sort of convinces Keicho to give up on shooting people with arrows and instead try and figure out a way to
heal the dad.
heal his dad.
Yeah. But then they're attacked by some sort of electricity stand,
Yep.
which abducts Keicho, like turns him into electricity, pulls
Yeah,
him
there's
out.
like, there's
through
like a
the-
dude on the roof looking in through the skylight.
Yeah. And pulls him out through like the outlet in the wall, and then they find him dead on the power lines outside, and there's no bow and arrow. That's disappeared somewhere.
Dun-dun-dun.
And that's basically the way...
That's where it ends.
That's where this
Yeah.
English volume number 1 ends, and that's basically where the movie ends, too.
Yes,
The first
so it
18
is.
chapters.
Right. So...
Yeah, questions.
Yeah.
This can wait till we do the movie, really, but if the hand didn't work on Blobby Dad, what will?
Yeah.
The hand removes things from existence.
Yeah.
So much so that reality just collapses and covers up the absence. If the hand didn't work, I think he's shit out of luck.
Yeah.
How could the hand not work on him?
Yeah.
Does he come back from unreality?
Well, I imagine that the hand isn't big enough to delete his dad all at once.
Oh, so he
right?
deletes part of him and then,
Yeah, so
and then
he gets
just
rid of
grows
half, and he
back?
gets rid of his head, and the head grows back.
Okay, yeah, that's plausible. And do they try Crazy Diamond on the dad?
No.
Wouldn't Crazy Diamond fix him? It reassembles things.
He hasn't really been destroyed, right?
I think
He's
there was a
mutated.
line about that or something. Can't
No,
quite remember.
Josuke's like, I'll try it, and
But they never do. The lightning happens first, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
and Keicho's like, no, I'm not gonna let you. Why?
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This doesn't. Does anything happen to the dad in the end? You've
No, I
read
think he's just left in that room.
that. So,
I don't remember if he gets brought up again. Like, I don't remember.
But there's also a bigger villain in the
Yeah.
series, right?
yeah.
Right.
Kida. Coincidentally,
Oh,
he's
that's
called Kida.
Yes.
Is
that's
he?
right.
I've forgotten about that. Oh yeah, Yoshikage Kira. That's right.
Right.
Another manga villain called Kida.
With the movie released in 2017. Segue.
Yeah. Fantastic. Let's talk about the film.
So this movie is called
JoJo's
JoJo's
Bizarre Adventure.
Diamond is Unbreakable.
Chapter
1.
Yep.
Now, in English, there are 9 volumes. This movie exactly covers volume 1. So, was the ambition to make 9 of these movies.
The ambition was to make more movies.
Yes.
As for 9...
absolutely not 9 of them, because of the ending, which we'll get to.
Yes, but I think, They were
100% wanted to make more movies.
Sure.
Hence chapter 1. And also they introduce a lot of characters and some plot points
That don't go anywhere.
that aren't present in what we just covered exhaustively.
It really feels like a pilot episode.
Right.
But it seems like you end up in Game of Thrones characters territory where the characters are supposed to be 15 still in high school, but now it's 12 years later when we get to part
that
9.
wouldn't be an issue for JoJo's. They all look 30 anyway.
That's true.
Anyway, it's a moot point because those would never get made.
Yeah.
Because this is a stillborn franchise.
Yeah. So we start with our serial killer in somebody's apartment. He's murdered 2 people who were having a birthday party, and he's eating their birthday cake.
Yeah,
It's
he's got
very
hostages.
grim beginning to a...
I was like, why did you get Miike to direct this kid's movie?
It's very Miike. Yeah. But very fucking grim for a light-hearted, brightly coloured...
Yeah, the rest of it is...
Oh, yeah, we haven't talked about the colours of those colour pages either.
Yeah, even when you get to the opening credits of this,
Garish.
because we get this cold open...
There's a
it's
huge
serial murder.
tonal change.
Oh, yeah, it looks very much like the anime opening sequence, like colors and shapes and stuff like that. But first you have to deal with the serial killer that's killed 2 people, and the cops arrive. The cop in the lead will turn out to be the granddad. And when he escapes from this crime scene, he's shot with an arrow by this Keicho character, who, I have to say, all the hair is pretty good in this movie.
Yeah.
They haven't held back and tried to Batman Begins anything.
No.
They were like, let's...
Well, I don't know. Maybe they haven't tried to Batman Begins the hair
Yes.
or the outfits.
Yes. So he's caught by the cops anyway, but in interrogation, suddenly all this water starts flooding into the interrogation room,
Yep.
kills the cops, he manages to escape. So it's not like between executions or anything like that. And then we get this crazy title sequence, which is like... it's
so garish and over the top.
Yes.
But very kind of JoJo.
Yeah. Now we meet Koichi, who has to be a human actor, not a cartoon
Not a
character,
3 foot
but
tall.
looks kind of well cast, I think, for the part.
Does not have silver hair.
No.
They haven't gone all out with the hair.
No.
The actor that plays Koichi is called Ryunosuke Kamiki.
Okay.
It's pointless looking up the various comic book films that all of these actors have been in, because they've all been in dozens.
And Miike's directed 13 or 14, I'm going to say,
so-
movies based on manga.
So we're just going to abandon that.
Okay.
And I will just mention one thing per actor. In this case, this particular actor, he was also in Godzilla -1, where his character was also called Koichi.
Oh. Okay. Huh.
Except it's the long O, Koichi.
Right. Yes.
Close
Okay,
enough.
so he's on his way to school. In the morning, he's stopped by some bullies. And they want to extract some money. They're trying to extort some money from him. But then our Josuke walks up, and he just kind of is about to leave the scene. He's going to let this kid be bullied. He's about to walk away. They insult his hair. I have to say that hair insults were pretty funny in this movie, like in the manga. Like, you know what's coming. He's going to lose it. So he beats up these bullies. He heals them.
Oh yeah, there's a really great... It's like, he's like, what's up with your stupid hair?
Yeah.
And the guy that's saying it has even stupider hair.
Yes, that was really funny. That was actually excellent. Yes, so he also fixes Koichi's bike.
Yeah.
Koichi gets to school, and there's this girl there. So he's just transferred. He's only there new this term.
Yeah. And there's a girl that's fixated on him.
Yukako,
Yes,
I think?
Yukako.
She's a later character, right?
She shows up later. She's pretty much the same role. She's some kind of a psycho...
She's played as really
Girlfriend.
sinister.
She's like she's like the audition
She's really
girl.
obsessed with him. She like kidnaps him and keeps him in this house for
Like the
months
audition
or
girl.
Oh, okay.
And her power is she has hair that she has like prehensile hair.
Yeah, it's like her stand.
Her stand is
hair or
prehensile hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's like audition basically.
Yes, right.
So they're just reintroducing her earlier for the fans,
something. Yeah.
Yeah, or to set up the next...
or to set up a fewer than 9 chapters, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a lot of stuff in here that's quote unquote for the fans.
Okay.
I think this film really doesn't make sense unless you've read JoJo, I think. There are some halting attempts at explanation, I feel. Every now and again, someone will get a line of expository dialogue, but there's just heaps of stuff that I think is just not explained.
It's a lot of assumed knowledge, I think.
Well, there's especially, I mean, with the stands, like, I was, until last week when Ashton told me what a stand was when he finally read it in part 3. I've been wondering for years what a stand is. Now, this movie does not explain what a stand is.
Nope.
The stands are just there. They never say this is the essence of your spirit or anything like that. It's one line of dialogue. Just throw it in there.
Like Ashton pointed out, the only explanation we get for what a stand is one line in chapter 3.
Yeah.
And it's
Two
vague as to be meaningless, really. Why should your spirit manifest as a
car?
A car or a gun or a flamboyant armored figure?
Yeah. Well, there's one
that has
with
the
6
power.
bullets.
Yeah. That has arbitrary, crazy reality warping abilities that exist that function with these rules and no others, and also is named after a band that you have probably never heard of. Where do the names for the stands come from?
Yeah.
Well, they name them themselves.
Yeah, but why? In that case, are they all fans of late 70s, early 80s?
Jotaro names Josuke's stand Crazy Diamond. He gives it that name. Avdol's the one naming all. Or actually, Avdol's not. It's like this is your stand, and also it's off of the
and it's just a
tarot.
coincidence that they happen to name them all after bands that Araki likes.
Okay, so there are these kind of slackers in town that they're not bad guys, they're just slackers that the granddad
we get a bit
talking
of
to, they're
character
loitering.
development. We get a bit of character development for Grandpa.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a bit more benevolent in the film.
Yeah.
In the comic.
No, he doesn't pull a gun on Josuke for...
gun on his grandson.
Oh, no, he totally does.
Does he?
He does something. He does something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. He seems a bit more benevolent.
Right.
In the film, he seemed like... in the comic, he seemed almost corrupt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because his daughter, like, attacks some guy, and the dude's like, hey, cop, arrest her. And he's like, no, she's my daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she smashes that guy's face on his... Like, he's in a convertible and he smashes it on the door.
It's important here because it's part of... Grandpa gets character development because his death is going to be important for a storytelling shortcut.
Yeah.
To explain Josuke's motivation for wanting to
Well,
become
in the
a hero.
comic, as soon as Granddad dies, Josuke's like, I'm going to take over for him and protect this stamp. That happens right then.
In the comic?
In the comic,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought that was a change that the film made.
No,
it
it's
doesn't
just there in the middle. It's just like immediate. But these slacker kids end up being possessed. They go to the local water fountain. They get possessed by the Angelo stand.
Yeah, one of them's killed, one of them's possessed.
Right.
And then does the hostage scene that we have in the comic.
Right. Yeah, so we get the whole hostage scene. Plays out pretty similar. I have to say the CG's pretty good in this, I thought, for the most part. And the stand effects are good.
Yep.
And because it's not shot on high-def video like Death Note was, when the Shinigami looked so weird on screen, it actually, they kind of fit in a bit more into this world.
That's fine. Although, as I said, some of the stands are given... Star Platinum and Crazy Diamond especially are very hazy.
Yeah, I don't like that. I always imagined them as more physical.
They're certainly not hazy in the manga. I think it's a deliberate choice maybe because of how dumb Crazy Diamond looks, and maybe Miike felt it would undermine the serious tone of his movie.
Yeah, jeez. Get to the tone.
Yeah.
Or maybe they weren't sufficiently confident to make a humanoid figure move as convincingly as the creepy ones, like the creepy Aqua Necklace.
The water guy. Yeah, Aqua Necklace.
Yeah. He does do something. The granddad does do something when he comes home and the kid's playing video games. He punches him in the head.
That's right. That's right. He does. Twice. That's right.
Yes.
Jotaro, again, Jotaro shows up, again, looking for Josuke, asks Koichi for help.
Well, yeah, not until 20 minutes in, which is interesting, because that's kind of it really makes you wonder about the audience for this movie, because in the manga series, he shows up, we know he is from part 3.
Yeah.
Here, it's almost like he is a secondary character. In fact, in those first 18 chapters, he disappears, pretty much. He's not the main character, so it doesn't make sense to put him in at the front of the movie. It makes more sense to bring him in as a secondary character later in the movie, 20 minutes in.
Yep.
But it does make it seem like this movie is aimed at people that don't read JoJo, or...
I think they I think that was the plan.
Yeah.
But I think JoJo is so dense.
Yeah.
It's got so many things going on.
Yeah.
That you can't really.
Yeah, or it's like it was made by a JoJo fan trying to make it for people who aren't JoJo's fans and then just forgetting that he has to explain all this stuff.
Later on when we get to trivia, I'll talk a bit more about how they wanted this. They wanted a franchise out of this. Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
That was always the plan. And they made all sorts of decisions early on about making it a franchise. Right. So and even successful overseas hoping.
Right.
But I just don't think you can do it. I think you can try your best. You can push Jotaro a bit further back. You can explain a few things. You can bring some characters in earlier, but I just think ultimately it's too hard. And all sorts of plot threads in this film just go nowhere.
Yes. Well, okay, so Keicho kills another person, but this person dies with the arrow, so we're starting to learn how these arrows work. Some people...
Sort of. I mean, it just seems sort of like he's shooting people with arrows at this point.
Well, one guy got a power, one didn't. This is when our Jotaro Kujo shows up.
Played by Yusuke Iseya, who we've seen before.
Yeah.
Rikishi and Ashita no Joe.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see this guy again.
Yeah, very, very chiseled. Has a comic book
very
face.
handsome fellow.
Very comic book face. Really, I guess the only actor you could imagine, kind of, if you have to make a live action version of...
No, there's no Japanese people with the faces that Araki draws, right?
Absolutely not. No. They look like Greek statues.
Yeah.
I think Araki's got I think maybe he learned classical drawing at some point, because everyone is very statuesque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the artist Bern Hogarth, who drew these, like, how to draw, like, muscular body how-to books, and they were always like those Greek, you know, like the discus throwers, like twisted around with, like, the muscles.
I wouldn't be surprised if Araki owned a copy of that particular book.
Yeah.
Because they're always doing... They look like... They're often posing in, like, a discus-throwing pose for no reason.
The craziest pose in the whole thing is in part 3, where Polnareff the Frenchman is explaining how he's looking for a man with 2 right hands that raped and murdered his sister. And then it cuts back from the flashback, and he's in this pose. He's, like, right down to the ground.
Yeah.
And his legs are out wide, and he's leaning back, and he's pointing right out of the page.
Well, when the Pillarmen come out of the rock... The first thing they do is
they hit a pose.
They just do a bodybuilding pose.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. It's so fabulous.
Yes.
This film is less fabulous.
So, we get much like in the comic, we get the explanation about the dad and the illegitimate son and how he's come to Japan. And the girls come up, the fawning girls come up to Josuke. Plays out pretty similar. The insult to the hair, the fight between the stands.
Yep. Here, Jotaro stops time. We see
it seems he really likes using that stop time ability in this.
Yes.
Unlike in the comic where it seems like he's gotten worse at it. And
time saving.
He's only got like
because
half
people coming in don't know that he hasn't used his time stop power for 15 years. It's a pointless detail. Here he can just do it. Star Platinum shouts its catchphrase. This is an Easter egg for fans, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know about JoJo, it's not going to make sense why Star Platinum is going Orororo!
Yeah.
Well, does it make sense even if you read the comic? I don't think
it's just his catchphrase.
It's just
It yells Ora ora ora.
I kind of thought it was like a battle cry. It was like
it is, it's a battle cry. I think it's really based on Fist of the North Star as ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta.
It's very similar. Dio Stand yells Muda Muda Muda.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a word that
Useless,
actually means
right?
something.
Pointless,
which is like
useless,
pointless.
right?
Yeah.
There are whole pages where it's nothing but the stands yelling ora 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 muda muda muda.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's great if you're a fan. You get to see Star Platinum yelling ora.
Now we get a strange scene which is not in the comic where Keicho meets with Angelo.
Yeah.
They have dinner together.
This is a strange scene.
And it's the first... Okay, the movie has a frequent problem where dialogue is delivered very slowly.
So slowly.
In a lot of scenes, especially these emotional scenes where the actors really should have been on top of each other's lines. It's the opposite of the tempo of the comic. But this is a strange scene where they talk about their backgrounds and what caused them to become hateful people. And...
Bizarrely, Angelo offers to kill
Keicho's father.
parents.
Yeah, and Keicho attacks him.
Instead of saying, yes, that's what I want you to do.
Even though his goal is the same of trying to find someone
Wild.
to kill his father.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, baffling. Really baffling.
Why is this scene in it, first of all? Maybe we're building up Angelo as the main villain of the film, but he's not, because he's gone an hour in.
Yes, this is another problem with the movie.
Big pacing problem.
Because we get this volume of the manga, which is really would have been 2 probably in Japan, where you get the first villain, which is Angelo, the second villain, which is the 2 brothers. That's 2 movies, not 1.
Exactly.
With 2 separate halves that don't have any connection to each other, really.
JoJo's part 3 and 4 really operate like a monster of the week.
Yeah.
Like each...
Well put, yeah.
It's like every 5 to 10 chapters is based around one stand, and they have to spend this time...
encounter another crazy stand,
they get attacked by the stand, or they find the stand user, they get attacked, they stop, they regroup, they go back, they fight it again. It goes on and on and on. And it's like, it really could have been 2 movies.
It should have been. I think this film has big pacing problems because of that.
Yeah.
Because it has 2 villains, each of whom take up equal amounts of time in the film. And Angelo gets all the build-up and kind of like all the foreshadowing.
Yeah.
And then when he's dealt with...
That should be the end of the movie, or the episode.
But then we've still got the rest of the movie to go, with the brothers that we don't...
and then
we have to reintroduce
should have been
them.
the post-credit scene, not the third guy.
Yeah. So after that dinner, we get dinner with the Higashikata family. This is another scene that's not in the comic where they're just talking about their backgrounds. It's like a character scene, basically. I'm trying to remember what happens next here that's relevant.
Well, because, much like the comic, because Angelo has been foiled by Josuke, that's it. He's done.
Yes.
So we get it sped up a bit. We don't get the milkman scene. We don't get any of that stuff. We just go straight to their house at night's time.
Straight through the tap.
And it kick. Sorry, during the day. Straight through the tap during the day. Josuke spots his mum drinking it. He does exactly the same thing. He punches her. It's quite dramatic. We don't really know what's happening, but of course it becomes clear.
Yeah.
He punches her. She doesn't even remember being punched. Maybe.
Well, it's so fast.
Yeah, right. And he's reassembled the bottle with aqua necklace in it. Again, he shakes it. We get an amusing sequence of Angelo being thrown around as though by a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
So he's bouncing around outside the house where he's hiding.
It's very much like a voodoo doll, isn't it?
And Josuke is supposed to guard this water until Jotaro comes. He calls Jotaro. Jotaro's going to come and help him deal with it. But because he's an airheaded teen, he just starts playing video games instead.
Yep.
Forgets to run the bath for Grandpa.
Grandpa comes home, punches him in the head. Yep. Drinks the cognac.
That's right. Same thing.
Except at this
makes
point,
fake cognac.
in this one, Josuke has left the room.
He's going to run the bath for Grandpa.
He's not in the room playing video games while his Grandpa's being murdered.
And then, Grandpa's dead and Aqua Necklace is out. So here we get the fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jotaro shows up, so they both have... Fight plays out. Now, what did you want to say about the steam in this?
Yep, okay. So here it seems like Aqua Necklace's power is to exist in liquid water.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Gets in through a tap. He needs to get in through a tap. He needs to get in through milk. He needs to get in through rain.
Yeah.
Liquid water.
Yes.
Then we have the kettle boiling and there's steam. Okay, steam technically is water vapor.
Yeah.
But we can see steam because it has lots of water droplets in it.
Okay.
So when steam contacts cooler air, some of the vapor condenses and becomes the droplets that we can see.
Okay.
Okay, so technically he's still in water vapor if he is in steam. Sorry, liquid water.
Okay.
Just tiny droplets of liquid water. So I'm like, okay, good. Because my objection here is, if he can exist in water vapor...
Molecules in the air.
There's water vapor everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
All the time. Even in deserts, there's water vapor in the air. It's not particularly concentrated, but it's there.
Yeah, I would like to assume it's a concentration thing, right?
Yep. Except, unfortunately, in the next scene, when they bust through the wall and go into the room with the humidifier, we get a line of dialogue. There's no steam in the air, it's just a humidifier running. And I think Jotaro says he's in the humidifier's running. He's in the air invisible, which means he can be in water vapor. And it's just like, well, the game's up.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be in liquid water. He can get anyone, anywhere, at any time, forever.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing.
Yeah. But we do have the glove trick where he pukes up the glove, the
Yep.
rubber glove that the stand is trapped inside, Aqua Necklace is trapped inside of it. He's unable to heal his granddad. They trap Angelo in the rock. They don't get an explanation from him.
No, they do.
Oh, they do.
He gives it up before they put him in the rock.
Right,
though.
okay.
Yeah. He's turned into exactly the kind of like the same face.
Yeah.
A kind of sad looking face on this giant rock.
Yeah.
My question is, what happens to Aqua Necklace now? As a rock, can Angelo still control Aqua Necklace?
Okay, the comic's very specific about this.
Okay.
He was half in the rock, and he was still able to use Aqua Necklace to attack, in the rubber glove, to attack a kid that was passing by.
Yes.
So then Josuke went really all out and really fused him with the rock, and that stopped Aqua Necklace.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't able to operate it anymore.
Okay. So
When he was in
presumably the
second
same
form.
rule
But
applies.
here we just jumped to the end version. We didn't
Yep.
go through that middle phase.
Yeah, and he's still got Aqua Necklace in the rubber glove. We see him sort of shaking it as they leave.
Yeah.
Yes.
But is it just water now, inert
Yeah,
water?
I assume so.
It's not explained.
No. Okay, it's time for Granddad's funeral. When they get there, Keicho is there. So, I don't know why, but
He's like luring him to the house.
Josuke follows him, but why is Josuke... Does he know who he is?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why did he decide to follow this guy to his house?
Yeah, good
Who
question.
was just standing outside the funeral?
Has he been keeping an eye on Angelo, maybe? Trying to find out if he can kill his dad?
Because the audience has seen him, and the audience knows
exactly.
that he's the bad guy.
The audience knows, but he doesn't... But Josuke doesn't know he's a bad
No.
guy.
No.
He just thinks he's some guy with weird hair that showed up outside the funeral.
That's a recurring gag among JoJo's fans, is that they often say the stand user could be anyone, keep your eyes out.
And it's always someone with crazy
And
hair.
it's always someone with the most bonkers
Right.
outfit.
Or hair, yeah. Could be anyone dressed like a runway model with
Yeah.
hair, with a bucket of gel.
In the Middle East.
So they follow him to this mansion. Now, by the way, I was really surprised watching this movie because they found a house for Josuke to live in that looks like the house in the comic. And they found this mansion, and it wasn't until I watched the end credits and realized a lot of this was shot in Spain.
Yeah.
So I think some of the maybe boardwalk stuff in Morio was shot in Japan, but some of these locations, like this old rotting
I
house.
think it was all shot in Spain.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But we'll get to that.
But so they go there. Koichi is shot by the arrow at the mansion. Unfortunately, his head doesn't get stuck in the gate, which is a bit of craziness that I would have liked to have seen on film.
Yeah.
Okuyasu comes out. We have the fight. We learn about the hand that can...
Okuyasu is played by Mackenyu, who's a kind of like a Japanese singer and actor, and the son of Sonny Chiba.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
What a bizarre factoid that is.
Yeah. And he's the only one in the film that does any martial arts because he's a trained martial artist.
Right.
Pointless to list all of his comic book movie credits. I will mention, though, he's in Knights of the Zodiac.
Okay. All right.
Okuyasu's in the film earlier as well. There's a weird point where Koichi and Yukako are on the...
Yes, I did not understand that scene.
Pointless.
He's
Totally
talking...
pointless.
So Koichi and Yukako are talking on the boardwalk, or by the waterfront, and then...
There's like a blue flash and Koichi teleports.
away from
Oh,
her.
yeah, for no
And
reason.
then Okuyasu is over there. Now, can he use his hand to make people further apart? Number one.
Wouldn't it bring
Remember-
both people,
But then
not just
the
one?
flash was on them. It's not like the flash was behind Koichi where he moved. It was
You're right.
right
But it
on where
moved
they were talking.
him and her apart from each other instead of closer. And why did he do it? Is
why
he
did he do
jealous of...
No, it moved Koichi away and
Yeah,
Yukako
no,
stayed in the
moved
same spot.
Koichi away for no reason. No reason.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did he do it because he was jealous that he was talking to her?
I think it's just an Easter egg for the fans. Look, remember Okuyasu? He's going to show up soon.
Okay. So the fight plays out pretty similar. He does knock out Okuyasu.
He tricks him into pulling a statue towards himself.
It's trash cans in the comment. In the comic. In this one, it's a Greek statue.
Yes. Yeah, the yard's full of statues.
Yeah.
For some reason. Well,
So
everybody's a statue.
then he
in
follows
JoJo, aren't they?
Koichi's blood trail into the house. Okuyasu has not been knocked out. He shows up. He gets shot by the thousands of little bullets.
Yep. Josuke heals him again.
Yep. He uses
Okuyasu has a change of heart because he's been healed. He uses the teleport to pull Koichi towards him. So far, so good.
It reads basically the
By
same.
the way, this is at the 1 hour point of this 2 hour movie. This whole mansion sequence is an hour long.
Yeah, it's much too long.
Yeah.
Much too long.
That is wild. Now, it works. It's like 10 chapters in the comic. That works in that bizarre tempo of manga.
Right.
On film, what a weird choice.
Yeah, the second... This film is very clearly divided in two halves, and all the excitement and good storytelling is in the first half. And the second half is just this really long sequence in one set.
Yes. All in 1 hour in this... Yeah. So, so we have the hand. Koichi's brought closer. He's healed. He produces his egg, but in this version, we actually see what's in the egg.
It does hatch.
Yeah, it hatches. It's this weird little lizard kind of creature with, like, skateboard wheels for back feet.
It's the same as it is later on in the comic.
Right.
And it doesn't do anything.
It does not do anything.
No, it's like too weak and it falls over. And
But it distracts... bad company for long enough that Josuke is able to do his gambit with the sending the missiles back.
Right.
And here we get the revelation that he can't order the soldiers to do more than one thing at
which
once.
is not in the comic.
Right.
He just does it really quickly.
Got it.
now they have to go up the stairs once they've reversed the missiles.
Yeah, he goes up...
How long does that sequence take? Like half an hour for that whole
so
fight?
long. So long.
It's about, I'm just scrubbing through the
Scrolling
file
through it.
here, and it's...
Keiichi goes upstairs. Josuke thanks Koichi for distracting him at the critical moment. In fact, Koichi goes Super Saiyan at one point, it looks like, when he's activating his stand. His hair goes up.
His stand goes through like 3 phases, right? It like evolves and...
just like Cell.
I think in its...
it even looks a little bit like Cell.
Yeah, and I think in its third form, he kind of like floats next to it and he's got Super Saiyan hair.
Holy shit. And he Josuke gives him a fist bump, and Koichi makes him wait for that fist bump for a really, really long time.
To extend the runtime.
it's like 30 seconds. I don't think... Why is Josuke waiting so patiently for this dab? He's not getting it.
Yeah.
Anyway, oh god.
Seems like maybe it's an editing issue. Like, just splice some frames out of here. Just bring these things closer together. They get upstairs. When the dad grabs Koichi's arm, it's actually a good jump scare.
Okay.
I thought. Now we get this... We learn all about the dad. Plays out like in the comic.
Although Dio's not mentioned. We don't really find out why the dad
at all.
is
We
like
don't know
this.
why the dad is like this.
Yeah.
At all.
So there's no reason. And then, again, Keiichi resolves to heal him, but then instead of an electricity stand attacking, instead it's like a remote control car.
Yeah, that explodes.
Yeah.
That is the big... I think that's Yoshikage Kira, right? Which is the big villain.
Yeah.
He's the Dio of Part 4.
Oh.
The electricity guy is just another monster of the week, right?
Yes, in fact, who got his powers from the arrow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's like,
so why is... But Kira didn't get his powers from the arrow, so why is he attacking Keiichi?
Yeah, why? I
reason.
don't actually remember. Maybe to get the bow and arrow. To get the bow and arrow for whatever reason.
Sorry, just
So how would he even know about it?
Yeah.
We don't know. Again, this is a plot thread that was not answered and never will be answered because there's not going to be any more
Well,
of
this
these
is a real
movies.
cliffhanger. It's supposed to be a real cliffhanger anyway.
Right. Why did this remote control... We're not even sure it's a stand, right? Oh, no, because it goes in his body, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to rewind for a second to mention that there's a bizarre line in the comic when Keicho pulls the arrow out of Koichi.
Oh, yeah.
Where he says, it's like a CD, you put it back in the case. That manga came out in early 90s. That line is in this movie. From 2017. Now,
That's a yay for adaptation.
in 2004, there was still... CDs were heavy, because in Japan, you can rent them at the video store. Like you rent videos.
Yep.
Or DVDs.
Yep.
So people would rent CDs. So the CDs were still huge when I left in 2004. I don't know what the scene is like now, but it just seemed like... Interesting
wouldn't you
that
update
they-
that
I picked up
Or
on that.
just
I was
cut
like,
it.
of all lines to copy...
keep intact.
Yeah.
For the fans, I suppose.
So after this fight, they don't find Keicho's body. Keicho's body, as they did in the comic.
He explodes into dust.
He explodes, and the bow and arrow is gone.
Yeah.
And then now we have this
Exploded.
scene on the waterfront where Josuke declares to Jotaro that he's going to take over for his granddad and protect the city.
Yes, Granddad.
So that's been delayed.
Granddad's played by Jun Kunimura.
Very busy actor. I've seen him in 100 things.
He's in Ichi the Killer. And you'll be seeing him again soon because he's in Hard Boiled.
Oh, right!
It's one of the henchmen.
Hard boiled.
Hard Boiled. The Hong Kong.
My favorite movie of all time. Hard boiled.
Yes, he's in it. Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So enjoy that.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Was like I've seen him in something recently, but I have seen him in some stuff before. And then basically, the guys, we get the gag where they walk by the stone and say,
Hi, Angelo.
"Hi, Angelo," and then we roll credits as the students are walking away from camera. That's fine. But then there's a kind of mid-credit scene where we see a hand holding the arrow, like a dismembered hand in a paper bag.
That's Yoshikage Kiro's thing. He's a real serial killer, and he has a thing for severed hands. And whenever he sees a beautiful woman, he cuts off their hands and then
dates the hand for a few weeks, and then it starts to get ripe, and then he gets a new one.
I just one last thing I want to mention is that the guitar on the soundtrack was played by Marty Friedman.
Yep.
Whoa!
Yeah, I noticed that when I was watching the credits, because he has lived in Japan since the early 2000s, and like a lot of like J-pop backing tracks are Marty Friedman.
Holy shit! I missed that.
Yeah. I did notice like the guitar was like pretty hot, and then I was like, "What's going on here?" And then I just happened to catch his name in the credits.
Yeah, it was a real similar moment to we watched Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey a few days ago, and that had Steve Vai doing
was all over the
guitar. It came up in the credits. I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I guess it's trivia time.
Okay, for sure. All right. As is typical for the Japanese films, I don't have a budget.
Okay.
However, this film made about 920 million yen in 2017.
Okay.
That's about $2 million US.
Okay, I think this movie was a lot more expensive than that.
I think it definitely was.
Yeah.
That's a bomb.
Yeah.
It puts it at number 132 in box office revenue in Japan for that year.
Oh, that's bad.
For the year.
Yeah, extremely bad. Although it did make more money than Atomic Blonde, but that's not a Japanese movie. Compare this to better performing films. Gintama live action.
Okay.
33 million US.
Okay.
Compare that to 2 million US. An anime called Your Name.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great movie.
49 million US.
Yeah.
And the romantic drama I Want to Eat Your Pancreas.
Huh. I've heard of it.
28 million US.
Okay. Look, this movie isn't that bad. It isn't 2 million bad. I'm surprised it's that low. Okay.
Yeah, you think JoJo's will get butts on seats, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, it's hard. I don't really know why it didn't do too well. It's hard to tell. I mean, the reviews don't tend to be very positive.
Sure, but still, 2 million is shocking. 132nd place.
And it made almost nothing overseas.
Yeah.
How did it get made? Okay, there's a producer, Takashi Hirano. He's been producing films since the late 90s. Wanted to make a live-action JoJo movie since, 2007 or so.
Okay.
Took him about 5 years to get the rights.
Okay.
Then,
Why choose part 4?
Good question. I found an interview with Hirano.
I have some speculation.
Excellent. So, I've got 2 separate quotes from Hirano where he says 2 different things.
Okay.
Great.
The first one, an interview in Crunchyroll from 2017, he said that he wanted to adapt Diamond is Unbreakable first because he felt like in Japan, Diamond is Unbreakable is the most beloved story arc. I don't think that's true. I think it's Stardust Crusaders that's the most beloved.
I think Stardust Crusaders is... Okay, I think if you're going to make a JoJo movie, you want to make one with stands.
Yep.
Right? That means part 3. You cannot shoot a Japanese film in Egypt or Morocco or Tunisia or wherever they're going to make movies that look like Egypt.
Well, they did shoot it in Spain. But you're onto something, Kumar, because I have another quote from Hirano. I think, which is that this one was on Comic Book Resource.
Okay.
This one is, he chose it because it features a Japanese protagonist in a Japanese setting.
Yeah.
Hardly Japanese.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
But this one, and he said that because of the nature of the manga, there's a chance for Japanese cinema to expand globally, presumably with sequels. By which he means if the film did well, then they could have other films set in other places with other actors, foreign actors for the foreign characters.
Right. Well, you do part 5 solely set in Italy with only Italians, right?
Yeah, exactly. He actually says, a chance for, this is a quote, for Japanese cinema to expand globally with actors of a particular part 1, 2, 3 or 4, being portrayed by actors of that particular character's race.
Right.
Yes, because the Joe stars are British.
Yes.
Yeah. Jotaro himself is supposed to be half British, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does speak 2 lines of English dialogue in this movie when he calls his granddad back in Japan.
Oh yeah, he does too.
Or back in England. Yeah.
Yeah, back in England, yeah. As for I think Diamond is Unbreakable might be more popular in the West than in Japan.
Okay.
It seems like Stardust Crusaders is big in Japan, or the quote-unquote East, and Diamond is Unbreakable might be bigger in the West. I think that's sort of the impression I get too. People like Kira is seen as a particularly kind of like cool villain, like much cooler than Dio, who's kind of like a shrieking vampire that stops time. Kira with his kind of like weird methodical serial killer Hannibal Lecter style vibes.
Yeah, I guess that's more of an American obsession, isn't it?
But so the fact that Hirano said that it's the most popular one in Japan, I'm not sure how I feel about that. He did say that at points during the early phases of the production that he considered changing the characters and story details to some extent. For example, giving the protagonists a non-Japanese name and background. Sounds familiar. There's a film that came out, I believe, that same year where they did that.
Yeah. Yep.
He went on to say though, but even though there are adaptations like this that exist, or soon will exist, they become their own unique worlds, and not always in a good way. It's a co-production between Toho and Warner Brothers.
Okay. Yes, I did notice the Warner Brothers logo. That means there's a lot of money in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, if Warner Brothers is chasing it, 2017 is a bit late to be chasing comic book movie money, but I can't help but wonder if they're hoping for a franchise. Has the luster completely gone off comic book movies in 2017? Or are they still chasing that Marvel money?
Yeah.
Well, that's pre-Endgame, so superhero movies are all the rage, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So maybe some people from Warner Brothers with Japan were hoping...
Oh yeah, because Warner Brothers is floundering at this stage with their stupid Zack Snyder movies and...
Maybe they were hoping JoJo would be the film that would make them a lot of money.
Yeah.
That did not happen. As you pointed out, Kumar filmed in Spain in Sitges.
Okay.
Because Miike had attended a film festival there.
Ah, okay.
Well, and actually it makes sense because the town of Morio in the comic doesn't look anything like any kind of Japanese town that exists.
No,
it's full of Araki's sense, like fascination with, I guess, Southern European sun-drenched towns and Western style architecture. So I have a quote. Miike noted that he wanted the look of the film to have a slightly Western flavour, fair enough, and that his goal was to amplify the look and feel of Morio, so that the town, Sitges, would look like the sort of nostalgic place where you'd expect to run into an old-fashioned delinquent student.
It's really perfect. I think that the shooting location is perfect. The town looks really good. And the actors... And
it's
the
right
costumes and the hair looks really good. All that stuff is great.
I have an interview with Miike himself, which appeared in Screen Anarchy on July 3rd, 2017, where he said about Sitges, I had an idea. I've seen this very specific world, the world of the comics, somewhere before. When I visited the film festival in Sitges, I realised that this is it. So I decided to shoot part of the film, not all of it, in Sitges and part of it in Japan.
Right.
Actually, the film festival was taking place at the time when he was filming there. And apparently, quote, it wasn't all plain sailing. At first it seemed almost impossible because I needed to use a local crew who didn't speak Japanese.
Typical.
And then, ominously, budget-wise, it was also a really big project. But then again, the title of the film is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, so as a filmmaker, I also found myself and my crew on a bizarre adventure together. He also says that he's if not a fan of the manga, then he was familiar with it.
Right.
He said that it came out when he was an adult, obviously, and he said, as an adult, you don't really have the chance to read manga series in the way you can when you're a child, but when I was travelling around and working, I would always find the manga of JoJo wherever I went, and I became quite familiar with it. And that's pretty much all I have for trivia. I will mention briefly that the actor that played Josuke, Kento Yamazaki, He played L, but not in the films we watched in the live-action Death Note series.
Okay.
So there's a live-action
TV
Death Note
series.
TV
Yes,
series.
yes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Just a slight coincidence there.
Right. Okay, so is it votes time?
I think so.
Okay.
Manga's easy, yay.
Great. Awesome. So fun.
Yeah. Fun, fast, weird. You're not trying
Bizarre.
to think about all the plot holes.
It does what it says on the tin, really.
Yes.
I must say, the battle tendency has a special place in my heart. I've never really dug the stands, and I have a real soft spot for a manga that has the balls to make the Nazis the good guys. And I love the Pillar Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, part 2 is great. I mean, all
But I
of them
enjoyed this.
really-
Once I finished this first, volume 1 or part 1, I wanted more.
Yeah.
I actually texted Kumar, I think on Saturday, a day after you gave it to me, saying, I finished it already. So I'm hoping he'd send me more. But he didn't.
Yeah, easy. Okay, how about this movie?
It's a nay for me.
Yeah, same here. Nay.
We've got plot threads that go nowhere, we've got material that doesn't make sense if you don't know the manga, and we have some very serious pacing problems.
Yeah.
Where everything interesting happens in the first half, and the second half is it's an entire half of an almost 2-hour movie set in a single location, and it just, with underwhelming villains, no new characters, and it's just dragged out.
Yeah.
Yeah, ditto. It's really dreary and slow. All of the dialogue is
That
so...
is the shocking part about it, is how kind of
Extended.
slow it's the pacing of the delivery of dialogue. It's weird.
Well, is that a yay or a nay for you then, Kumar?
It's a nay, but there's good stuff in it.
Sure.
There's definitely good aspects, but not enough to recommend
But it's almost like they're every now and again in a really, really long film. And I think that brings us to adaptation.
But also, I want to add to that. Well, I guess it rolls into adaptation, but it takes 2 hours to read the comic.
Yeah, it's
Right?
almost like they've gone...
So why not just go read the comic?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Okay, yeah. Ashwin said, a bit dull, a bit dark, a bit bland. JoJo should be screaming off the page.
Absolutely.
Or off the screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a tone issue with
It
adaptation.
should be in
especially.
Technicolor.
Yeah, this goes into adaptation. It's tonally all over the place because he's tried to make it really dark and serious while still having the stupid-looking stands, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
The
and
stupid
stupid
fights.
hair,
Yep,
and
Stupid hair,
clothes.
outfits, it's all dragged
They
out.
stick out like sore thumbs because so much of it is drab and dry and dark and slow. And then you have ludicrous pompadours and wacky outfits, bright white trench coats.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah,
Why are they...
dude with a giant purple pompadour is saying his line slowly. It takes him 30 seconds to turn around when someone insults his hair. It's the comic beat for beat, pretty much. But
That's the
slowed
interesting
right down,
thing, is
though.
it's so much of the
slow.
comic is in it. That's the weird thing about it as an adaptation.
I don't know, though. Where are the... Is so much of the comic in it? Where are the impossibly muscular giants doing poses from Grecian art?
I did have an issue with the casting because I know it's impossible to cast 190 centimeter tall jack giants, but if you're going to make a JoJo's movie,
Where
you
are the
have to. It's
chiseled
iconic.
jaws? Where are the colours? Where is the homoeroticism?
Yeah, where are the poses?
None of it's there. Where is the posing? Instead, we just have studs of comic book stuff like a random hairstyle,
Yeah.
an outfit, a stand that we
Well,
barely see.
Here's another question that occurred to me as we were going through the comic today. Why would you try to adapt this into live action? Is it even possible to do something that's at this level all the time? It's always on. It's always switched on.
Maybe.
There's never any downtime.
Maybe you could. Something like... I don't know. I think maybe you could if it had a completely different aesthetic. But the real question is what you said, Kumar, which is why wouldn't you just read the comic? Because we're not getting the most Araki things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you watch the anime?
Well, the anime's
even
good,
the
right?
anime's even the anime's a better option. Yeah, because they can at least kind of visually capture it and keep the energy at that level.
Yes.
For the most part. Yeah.
No one ever yells in the movie. That's the thing.
Everyone's yelling constantly. Everyone's at 10 or 11 all the time in the manga, aren't they?
Yeah.
And everyone, they sort of had a go at it, but it's just so slow. You know, when
And
someone
kind of,
mocks...
missing the turtle touching scene.
He's not an airhead. He's closer in character to Jotaro.
Yeah, when he shows up, he's already like collected, right? Calm, cool, collected.
He's just more mild mannered,
Yeah.
and there doesn't seem to be good explanations for why he does things. He just sort of on a dime decides to be the defender of the town, you know. Whereas in the manga, he's much more the setup for him being he's just like goofy, a little bit goofy, off with the fairies.
Yeah.
A bit of a cloud cuckoo lander, and also somewhat mild mannered in that he's just so detached that he just sort of is like, oh, I'm sorry, and wanders off. But then someone mocks his hair, and then he turns around and he's got that.
He's got the scowl.
He's got like the Chad face, right?
Yeah.
And he's got like Araki draws these incredibly like they have these huge eyebrows and these huge jaws, and they're impossibly chiseled.
Yeah, real long rectangular faces.
And the face will fill a page.
Yeah.
You just can't do that, can you?
No.
No, so that's an A for me as far as adaptation is concerned.
Okay.
And I assume it is for you as well.
An A for adaptation.
All right. Okay, please like, rate, review, subscribe on whatever platform is. Please contact us through our email address in the show notes, or you can send us a DM on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, or even leave a comment on YouTube. And please join our Patreon at patreon.com/comicbookmovieoblivion, all one word. We need that money because we actually bought movie tickets for next week. We're going to go see Ghost in the Shell.
Indeed.
At the cinema, then we're going to record an episode about it the next day, and then the week after that, we'll be doing another Ghost in the Shell. So we're going to do the 1995 anime first.
Yep.
And we'll be reading the big chunky manga series.
Brilliant.
For those 2 episodes for the next 2 weeks. I think that about covers it.
Yeah. Before we finish, Ashwin, if you could have a stand, what would it be?
Ooh, out of all the parts, the hand.
It seems the one that has the most potential.
It's the coolest. I think it's the coolest design and the coolest power. It's very simple. You know, I wouldn't want to have a shadow that turns people into children.
Gee, how about me? I think Yoshikage Kira's one is pretty cool. He can blow stuff up at a distance.
Yeah, he's got that cat-looking thing.
Yeah. Actually, no, that little remote control car is really stupid. No, for me, it's Zawardo, Theo's stand, I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to stop time and have an enormous golden muscle man wearing scuba tanks.
Well, what does Koichi's roller skate lizard actually do?
Oh, it's really weird. It's like the weirdest. It like yells, and it makes a cartoon sound effect bubble.
Oh, I remember this now.
It like comes up. It creates the words for the sound effect.
Yeah.
And then
So
it'll say like bang or something, and then a minute later it'll like explode.
Is that your one then?
That's right.